All right, then I think we'll get started. Welcome everybody to this, I guess we'll call it a consumer forum related to the auto repair study that the department has been charged with. My name is Mary Block. I'm the Director of Insurance Regulation for the Department of Financial Regulation. With me from the department, we have a whole host of people. Deputy Commissioner Emily Brown is on the line. We have Director of Policy Emily Kosicki, Director of Rates and Forms, Rosemary Raska, Director of Market Regulation, Carla Newiesel, Executive Director, Phil Latvis, and two other members of our market conduct team, Marcia Violet and Izzy Kaiser, and then Tom Taylor, who is running our meeting for us today, thankfully. So just some housekeeping items first before we get started. This meeting is being recorded so that we will have it available for us to use as we start to put the study together and come up with our report and our analysis. There is a sign-up sheet in the room. We have two people in the room, so I don't think we have to worry about the sign-up sheet as much. With respect to those online participants, when the time comes, we'll ask that people raise hands if they want to make comments. This forum was intended to obtain comments from consumers, so we're going to prioritize calling on consumers first, in person and online, and if there is time, then other parties will be welcome to comment after all the consumers. We want to make sure that we allow them enough time to comment. Written comments are obviously welcome at any time, and any written comments can be directed to the department, to any one of the people here, but you can send them to my attention. We will be conducting a second consumer forum in October to gather additional comments from consumers, and that'll be announced as soon as we finalize the dates and times. Just some background as to the meeting, our purpose today is to obtain input from consumers on the topic of the auto insurance study that was assigned to the department by the legislature in Act 32 of 2023. Our study is not complete by any stretch of the imagination. We are still in the fact gathering and analysis phase. As a result, we from the department are in listening mode today, are not planning to make any comments or answer questions about the study at this point. For those of you who are not legislative geeks like the rest of us and haven't read the study requirements, the Act required the department to study in the following areas. Average hourly labor rates charged by auto body shops in Vermont and other jurisdictions, labor rates paid by automobile insurers, and any other non-hourly rates paid, and the factors that are used to develop rates and hourly wage data for auto body and related repairers in Vermont. The appraisal practices of insurers, the extent to which insurers control or influence repair work done at shops chosen by consumers, the use and impact of direct repair programs on auto repairers and consumers, disclosures that are made to consumers, whether our current regulation 79-2 governing claims practices needs to be updated based on changes in the market and business practices, particularly with respect to standards for settlement of property and physical damages, to clarify the independence of appraisals and the ability of insurers to negotiate with repairers, or the ability to insist that repairs be done by a specific repairer. Betterment practices of insurers, the use of aftermarket or recycled parts, including cost savings, certifications, and whether and to what extent insurers should be liable for costs, such as necessary modifications and any consumer notifications that might be needed. Complaints received by the department and the Attorney General's office concerning automobile insurance and repair work done by auto body shops. And then any other acts, practices, or market conditions that might be relevant to the topics that we're looking at. And then finally, how the cost of auto repairs contribute to the price and availability of auto insurance in Vermont, and whether any of the recommendations that we make might impact price or availability. To date, we've taken a number of steps to study these issues, including this forum. We've also requested documentation and information from insurers on the study topics. We've engaged actuarial, examination, and research organizations to gather and analyze information and to perform relevant research and calculations. We've collected and reviewed complaint data. We reviewed information and actions taken in this area by other states, and then we've done a review of relevant state laws and regulations. As a part of the study, the ask required us to get input from various stakeholders. We are using a variety of methods to engage stakeholders, such as this forum. As another example, we will be issuing a voluntary survey to auto body repair shops, requesting answers to relevant questions and providing an opportunity for their comments. The department has and will continue to communicate with insurers, other regulators, trade organizations, consumer representatives, and any other related parties, and will be conducting further interviews with various parties, including interviews potentially with auto body repair shops to follow up on their survey responses. Written comments from any parties are welcome at any time, and will be included in our work on the study. As a part of the report, the Act also requires that the department make some recommendations in some of the following areas. Whether Vermont should establish a minimum labor reimbursement rate for claims, what that rate should be and how it should be adjusted for market changes. How the control or influence of consumers over repairs done at a consumer chosen shop should affect the liability of insurers, particularly relating to repair quality and safety. What changes to regulations or statutes are necessary, including Regulation 79-2. What changes to consumer disclosure requirements might be necessary, including with respect to labor rates, material rates, and rental differentials. And whether aftermarket parts should be certified and to what extent an insurer should be liable for incidental costs related to their usage. The report was initially due in November of this year. Given the volume and complexity of information involved, the department intends to seek an extension, probably until February of 2025, to allow us to finalize the work that we're doing. So that's the background of why we're here and what we're looking for information on. We'd like to prioritize comments from consumers. So if there are any consumers on the line who would like to make comments, please raise your hand at this point and we can recognize you for your comments. Tom, let me know if there's any raised hands, please.
See any yet? Yet.
Okay. We have a couple of individuals in the room who I believe are both body shop representatives. I know Mike is, and I suspect they'd like to make some comments. If they would, I would like to recognize either one or both of them and let them come to the table and make comments.
So you just said a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's never, ever going to be taken care of in a couple of meetings. And if you're not careful, all you do is cause more chaos. For example, you talked about insurance companies negotiating with body shops. Would you consider that unlicensed practice of law? Because a body shop can't negotiate for soft tissue damage. A body shop can't negotiate for diminished value. Money is owed to the insured or the claimant, not the body shop. So here's what you have.
Mike, it would be really helpful if you could come sit at the table so that the people on the phone can hear you. And I know you have a lot to say on this matter. And we will be sending the survey out your way and asking you lots of questions and giving you another opportunity for comments. So I would love for you to kind of give other people an opportunity to speak once you get a chance to.
So here is the insurance company. Here's the body shop. Here's the insured. Insurance contract, repair contract. Contracts don't overlap. The insurance company has no right to get into this contract. The body shop has no right to get into this contract unless you straighten the line on the bottom. So in an insurance policy, they have the right to repair. The right to repair means this is what you have. Now you have the insurance company. Get this straightened out here. The insurance company, the shop, and then the insured. Insurance contract, repair contract. When an insurance company elects to repair, which is in their policy, they then contract directly with the shop. They take control of the car, bring the car to where they want, they then can control scope, costs, and methodology. So by their own choice, when they elect to settle in money to avoid liability, because an insurance company is liable for the repairs when they do this, 1964, Dodds versus State Farm's Alabama Supreme Court, wrongful death, because State Farm took control of the car and a 16-year-old was killed. Shortly after that, Erie Insurance got in the same mess. All the insurance companies backed away. So that's why they have the right to do this, but they're not going to do this. So, and it said they settle in money, but yet they commingle their three payment of loss options, which are right in the policy. The word or separates them, which means pick door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. They can't commingle their options, but that's exactly what they do every day. They commingle their options and they come into the shops. They tell the shops what they're going to pay, and there's no negotiation. They have a contract they sell, and they have a contract that they fix cars by. The two don't correlate to each other because they owe the cost of the repair. Most policies, a good policy says our limit of liability is the cost of the repair. And just for you who don't know me, I've stood now. So in an insurance policy, you can't assign the benefits of the policy. It's right in the policy. However, you can assign the proceeds of the repair. So if you got into an accident and you came to me and your insurance company shorted you, you could assign to me the money they owe you and I can take them to court. I've now stood in the shoes of over 2,000 Vermont consumers and taken insurance companies to court. We have settled out of court with way more than we've gone to court with, but I have a Vermont State Supreme Court ruling against Nationwide where I stood in the shoes of 68 consumers. I got a unanimous 5-justice decision that Nationwide breached the contract of all 68 of their insureds by not paying the cost of the repair. So this is very simple stuff. Insurance companies have the right to take the keys, bring the car where they want. If they, by their own decision, decide not to, then they're the ones that are laying the ground rules up for this. So they should not be able to come in and tell consumers what they're going to pay. Aftermarket parts, I went and bought a $2,200 Rockwell hardness tester to prove to Geico that the CAPA certified parts they put on this poor little girl's car were unsafe. They were not the correct hardness. And if you're familiar with the Seabach case down in Texas, which you may or may not be, and that's where State Farm convinced some people to go to their DRP shop, and prior to the accident, the hailstorm ever happening, they went in and told the shop, Johnny Eagle Collision, we want you to glue roofs on. So instead of welding them, they were gluing them. This guy got his car fixed, he traded it, the new owners, and a month later got in a head on. The roof came loose, the rails come down, pitched doors. He ended up with 4th-degree burns on both legs. So Todd Tracy, the attorney, he initially was going to sue Honda, found out it wasn't a Honda problem. Then he was going to sue State Farm. State Farm said customer picked the shop. So that's the trickery that these insurance companies use, direct repair shop. All the insurance company has to do is get you to say you use their shop. They can go into that shop, dictate to them how they want the car repaired. And they have no liability because you chose the shop. And that's what State Farm did. Customer chose the shop. So it ended up being a $42 million lawsuit. And 36.5 came from Johnny Eagle Collision down in, I think it was Houston, Texas. The rest came from the at-fault driver. Todd Tracy then went and purchased 3 cars exactly like that. One of them he loaded up with aftermarket parts. Structural aftermarket parts, radiator sport bumper beam. He brought him to Thatcham, had him crash tested. He had one with a glued roof, one unaltered, and they were all the same car, and one with the aftermarket structural parts. The one with the aftermarket structural parts fared out worse. The damage went to beneath the seat. So the other two, it didn't even get to the firewall. So he proved scientifically that these structural aftermarket parts are unsafe. During the course of the years, I have told so many people their cars are unsafe to drive from repairs they got at direct repair shops. Most recently, well, not most recently because I looked at one the other day, but anyways, the biggest ones that are noted was I found 2 glued on roofs because people came to me with water leaks. And when my guys tested for the water leaks, they got up to where the root of the leak was, which was the roof. We found that they glued the roofs on. So I called both people, told them their cars were unsafe to drive. So person number one, we redid their car, $12,300 to fix a fixed car properly. The other one, the person was so pissed, she went to the attorney and thought she was going to sue State Farm. Can't sue State Farm. She picked the shop. So then they sued the body shop that orchestrated the repairs. They got her car. She got money. She can't talk about it. I was going to be the expert witness, but it never got to that point. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And again, some things you said right off the bat alarm me about negotiating, body shops and insurance companies negotiating. If I went to your body shop and you gave me an estimate for $3,000, and then you called me up and told me that you negotiated with the shop and you got $2,500, I'd be seeing my attorney, because I'd be talking to you, because you're a body shop that just negotiated with an insurance company and they don't owe you the money. They owe me the money. So you just downgraded what was owed to me. You just compromised me. So I got a list of stuff here that I was going to go through, and I don't know how much time we have, but there's a lot of stuff to this. And I've also question.
I was just gonna ask you if it's anything you haven't sent me, because we are considering that information.
Okay. You've
So
got it
everything
all,
you've
but,
sent me,
and who are you, please?
Carla, we've talked on the phone.
Okay, I've talked to you.
Yes.
I can't remember ever talking to you. It's usually
Yeah,
Brenda.
no, we talked for a long time on the phone. You've sent me a lot of stuff through
Okay.
email, the cases,
Yeah,
so I have, if there's nothing, I believe I probably have everything that you have in
You
that packet. And
probably have a lot of the stuff. What I'm gonna do, because I made a packet, I actually have now a thing that I'm giving to consumers, so consumers can start understanding where they are, because right now, because my attorney retired, what we're doing right now is we are invoking the appraisal clause. I'm having consumers invoke the appraisal clause against them. And that is not going well
Costs you
either.
money though, right? It costs
The-
the consumers money.
What's that?
That costs the consumers
That costs
money.
$150, $330 if it goes to the umpire down in Texas. We're using an umpire in Texas. However, when a consumer's got shorted $2,000, that's not a lot of money to do.
Right.
And right now, we're charging the customers that come to us, we're charging them the additional rates for labor rates and materials, and they're paying it. So they've got skin in the game. So then when in the end, and they've got $400 in the game, and we got shorted 900, I say invoke the appraisal clause, we'll get the money back for you. I'll actually pay your $150.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm paying the $150 and we're getting it back, and then I send them their money back. So I found that by having them have skin in the game, they're interested in doing that, because I can't invoke the appraisal clause, they can.
Right. Mhm.
But that's no difference than me paying my court fees to take the insurance companies to court. So it's still, a winner for that. But what I have is that article that I'm giving to them now. I put together some copies of things, which I'm going to leave on the table, and you
Okay.
folks can take it and look at it.
That would be great.
So-
We hope that you will fill out the survey and that you
Oh,
will encourage your fellow
Definitely will.
business colleagues to fill out their surveys. And then, and like I said, I am fully aware of your arguments, and we are looking into that for this study. So.
Yeah. So as far as the unlicensed practice law thing, we were at a pretrial, and the judge says to me, I don't understand this. Like, you write an estimate, then the insurance company writes an estimate, then you argue it out, negotiate, and come up with a agreed price. I said, I am not an attorney. I don't have a right to negotiate with an insurance company. The money's, and I went through the whole scenario with, and the judge says, you know what? I've never thought of it, but you're absolutely right. This is a judge. Okay, so I'm not coming from unsolid ground here. My attorney used to tell me every time we go to deposition, I've had several 2.5-day depositions, Geico, Nationwide, several 2.5-day depositions where I'm just in Robbie's office and they've got their supervisor and they keep calling time out. They go and they talk, they come back and try to get me. It's just funny. But anyways, Robbie always said to me, don't educate them, because most attorneys do not understand the 3 payment of loss option.
Right.
agents have absolutely no idea about the three payment of loss options, and most insurance companies, the people I talk to, have no idea what the three payment of loss options are or what they mean. And they've been doing things the same way for so long, they think that's the way it should be done. It's one of those situations.
Okay.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we really appreciate your comments. We are taking into account, we know you testified in
Yeah.
2023 at the legislature about this. So we're taking that into account. We are taking into account everything we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
So if you leave us additional information, or if you have additional
Yeah.
information you want to send us,
Yeah.
please
And-
feel
and
free to
just-
do so.
Just so you'll know, if you set a minimal labor rate for the insurance companies, that will become a maximum labor rate for the body shops. End of it. That'll be the end of all. And right now, the biggest thing I'm doing, and I don't know if they shared it with you, but Montana Department of Insurance just made Liberty Mutual pay the blend rates. And that's the big thing right now. They did a study and they found that to blend a panel is 1.3 times the amount to refinish a panel. And the insurance companies are all just, nope, not happening. That's what they're all doing, except for one appraiser who appraises for the good companies, the better companies, and the rest are not doing it. So the state of Montana Department of Insurance just told Liberty Mutual, you must pay the 1.3 for the blend. So it's being done. And I said to them, and I said, this is happening. Other people are doing it. Why aren't we doing it? You know, and that's what I do. I get information. As a matter of fact, I found out about this meeting because the Society of Collision Repair Specialists has people following all the state stuff. And Aaron Schellenberg emailed me Friday and said, were you aware of this? And I said, no, I wasn't. Thank you. I'll be there.
we just, yeah.
And that's
Good.
why we're having a second one, because we
Yeah.
want to make sure everybody, we're hoping consumers will also comment. We've gotten some comments.
Consumers understand nothing of this.
Yeah, we've actually
Nothing.
gotten email.
Well,
So
well, we
we're
get a lot of
hoping to get
complaints.
more.
We get mad people, mad people.
Well, we got a lot of, we get complaints.
I talk with people every day in the shop. Nobody understands all of this stuff. No consumer understands this. It's just, it's a very tough situation because you got a policy nobody understands, including the agent selling it. You know, because I've talked to agents, I'll get a kick under the table if I go to a wedding and there's an agent across from me. I get, boom, okay, yeah, I'll be quiet till you go someplace. Then I'll say, so what are the three payment of loss options in your policy?
Thank you for all of the information you provide.
Yes,
Um,
I know you probably don't think so, but we do listen.
Yes.
What's that?
I know you might not think so, but I do listen when you call and when you send me things.
Why, I want your extension because Brenda won't have to answer my calls anymore.
Well, you had it. You lost it.
I'll just call and ask for you. That's easy enough.
Yeah, no, I'll remind you. I'll send you my email.
Okay.
All right.
And it's a new email address for me, Mike@parkersautoworks.com.
Okay.
Okay. We have one more person in the room that we'd like to hear from, and then we'll start taking online comments. So come on up and introduce yourself. We know who Mark is.
My name is David Ayer. I own and operate Ayer Auto Body out of Barry. And I had a consumer tell me and share that this meeting was occurring. I would ask that you folks would make an effort to reach out to the collision facilities here in the state of Vermont. And I know that you're going to hear a lot of the same stories. Nobody does this better than Mr. Parker. And the information that he provides is from personal hands-on experience doing what? Serving his consumers, his customers in a way that is in their best interest. That's the problem that I see continuously. In our business, we have to contend with individuals that have never worked on a vehicle. They've never had time on the floor. The way that they see and understand how a vehicle should be repaired is inadequate. They shouldn't be they're not qualified to do what is required to be in the consumer's best interest. They're there with instruction to assist the insurance company to facilitate their obligation. But the reality is the collision industry is increasingly more complicated with LiDAR systems and a technology and information and equipment that we need to acquire in order to correctly repair a vehicle. It's going through the roof. The rates are going down. And unfortunately, there will be facilities that will accommodate insurance companies. And the end result is that you're going to have roof panels and collision accidents in vehicles that are literally should not be on the road. So I applaud you, folks. You've got a momentous task before you to do justice for the consumers. We're being ill-served. We concluded that we had to adjust our rate based on consumer price indexing. That puts me at $20 to $25 an hour more than what an insurance company. We have, over the course of the past several years, requested that they would provide us their survey. We are not, as Mr. Parker, we're not on one of the repair agreements with any insurance company. Why? Because when you do that, you're recognizing that they've got critical input in how things are going to get done. And we deny that. We will do what we understand is required by the manufacturer to the repair of the vehicle. That's in our consumer's best interest. That being said, the cost of doing that has skyrocketed, especially over the past 3 years. We've adjusted our pricing accordingly. We've invited the insurance companies to please provide us with their survey. We would like to see how our competitors and or our fellow facilitators are able to do repairs at the rates that are being offered. They're not going to be able to adequately serve their employees effectively and properly. And so you're having to work them harder and longer for less money. And in this day and age, it's hard enough to exist. But to take away from their personal lives in order to complete the task, to do what? To accomplish a task for the insurance company to keep their costs down. It's unfortunate. Those are the things we contend with. So I applaud what you're doing. I hope to hear what your conclusions are, certainly when your next meeting. We will refer our customers to you folks.
We would
and
appreciate that.
ask that they would participate and help them understand how the insurance companies manipulate and control from the start. And I applaud Mike's efforts to hold them to task legally. We've come close a couple of times because of ethical breaches that the insurance companies have involved themselves with when steering customers to a different facility. And I'll leave you with the last thing. Please outlaw picture estimates. How you can look at a vehicle through a picture and do a desk review. Well, you can if you want to write a wholly inaccurate process of repair. We see estimates that turn from $300 to $5,000. It's all over the board. And so our consumers are being ill-served. And so there has to be something done in the area of licensing and review of estimates. I would ask that this committee would consider assigning somebody to do audits, Mr. Parker, to see if in fact the companies are being fair in the assessment of the damage to these vehicles. And these vehicles in this day and age with the LiDAR systems and the new systems, tracking systems, it requires a certain level of knowledge. And I'd ask this one last thing. Are there any individuals on this committee that are or have been in the automotive business, repair business? Or?
So this is not a committee. We are just members of the department. So the department has been charged with conducting the study. We are reaching out to people who understand these things. So we're engaging experts. That's why we're talking to all of you. That's why we're going to be surveying the auto body repairers. We're talking to insurers. We're asking them for information. So we're collecting and then engaging more expertise than we have in our department. That's part of what we do.
Well, good. Thank you. And the insurance companies, I think, are doing well for themselves. I haven't looked at what their bottom lines are, but I would hope that this committee or somebody in the economics would look at what's their profitability here in the state. I just understand that my consumers are being charged more, and yet they're not being well served. So with that, I say thank you, and I look forward to your next meeting.
We encourage you to complete the survey too.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Complete the survey once it comes out. So there's a survey that I will warn you, it's long. But we're asking a lot of very specific questions, and then we have an open-ended question at the end for you to make any comments you want. And that is always welcome, but what we're trying to do via the survey is to get some very specific information about, what you see from the insurer's perspective, what you're seeing from the consumer's perspective, how you operate your shops and so forth. So we encourage as much data as we can possibly get from the auto repair industry in order to help us put those pieces together.
May I ask the witness a question?
Oh, yeah.
He's not a witness,
Thank you.
but I think
Mike,
you
you can buy me dinner later. How's
can
that?
only ask him a question if he agrees.
Are you familiar with Bulletin 206?
I'm not, Mike.
Virtual adjusting.
Virtual adjusting.
The most secret bulletin the Department of Insurance has.
No,
Uh-oh.
there's
I
lots,
mean, I wanna hear
there's lots
this.
more secret than that.
So if a consumer requests an insurance company to send a licensed appraiser to physically look at the car after they've got even if they agreed to the picture estimate, if they request it, the insurance company must send one. Now, you will find that you're going to typically have to file a lot of complaints against that insurance company, the consumer, and then finally they start getting the message. State Farm, we went crazy with them. They finally now are sending somebody.
Mike, I applaud you. You are my hero. You really are. And I admire your
Wait a
tenacity.
minute, we wrote the bulletin.
Then thank you, folks. But
Bulletin in the beginning of December and said, here's an early Christmas present because I was hammering on the craziness. And we finally had a lady.
to
come in.
do what he's done,
We finally had a lady come in and her front right tire was pointing like this. And I went out there and usually I'd rub tires and get spiked with the belt. And I saw it and the belts were sticking up. She was 200 miles from a blowout. And I said, you aren't driving this thing, are you? And she says, yeah, why?
Oh.
And it was a Allstate picture estimate for less than her $500 deductible. And I said, this is unsafe to drive. So I went and I said, Becky, call up Enterprise, get her in a rental, blah, blah, blah. So we went through all the stuff. We got a hold of Allstate. They came around over $5,000 and totaled it. So that
Yes.
was, I took pictures and I sent it to Brenda. I said, Brenda, this lady is 200 miles from a blowout. She could have been heading head on to you when it happened. So how does that scenario feel? So Brenda went and next thing I know, I'm sure it was a group effort. Brenda didn't write it. But anyways, next thing we know, we get Bulletin 206. Said, wow. And then Bulletin 76, which is the hit and run one, has been in existence since 1985. People come in, they don't know that. And I don't tell them about it. I always question. I say, what happened? Well, I come out of the store and this was it. I
Yeah.
said, okay, it's a hit and run then. Okay, so then you gotta tell your insurance company, they're gonna want a police report. So there's all this stuff that people don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yep. And that's part of the effort here too, is to figure out how to
Right.
educate people. So
Yeah.
we thank you for
I thank you.
your contribution.
Thank you.
Tom, let's try one more time and see if there's any consumers on the phone who would like to comment. or-
Yes, I think we do have a couple of hands raised from online participants. I believe Terry Fortner has had their hand raised, and we have Jamie Fian as well.
Okay, well,
Thank you very much, committee. My name is Terry Fortner. I am the Executive Director of the Certified Automotive Parts Association. I'd like to give you a little background on CAPA, which is the acronym for the Certified Automotive Parts Association. It was established in the public interest in 1987 to set up and oversee a testing program to assure the suitability and quality of automotive replacement parts. Independent, unbiased, nonprofit, fully transparent, and with no vested interest in the outcome, CAPA has since become the auto industry's recognized authority on the quality and safety of parts used for collision repairs. Our comprehensive testing program is a valuable public service that provides consumers, auto body shops, parts distributors, and insurance adjusters with the reliable, objective means they need to identify quality replacement parts. Parts that will fit perform, last, and be every bit as safe as the OEM service part. CAPA certification is even recognized by government regulators as an assurance of quality. So I am proud to represent CAPA. Going back to the previous statement on the Eagle situation in Texas multiple years ago, it's to my knowledge that there were no roof components that were CAPA used in the repair of that vehicle. I thank you for listening to me, and we do believe in competition, and we do believe that competition is good for the consumer, the collision repairer, and thank you again.
Thank you, Terry.
It is correct. There was no aftermarket parts in the roof. However, Todd Tracy, the attorney, which I spoke to for 45 minutes on the phone from Texas, he took the 3 cars, he put CAPA certified parts on and did 3 crash tests at Thatcham with the double dummies. And the one with the CAPA certified part, the dummy's head got so close to the airbag before it deployed because it didn't get the correct pulse of the airbag detonators that when the airbag deployed, it went off to the side and it missed the headrest. So he got a broken neck and is the only one that had the tire intrude into the floor pad and he had a broken leg. And
Is there any, so I understand you've talked to the attorney. Is there any written documentation related to this?
I'll, you
If
send me your
there's-
email,
yeah.
I'll find the stuff because
Yeah,
Todd
if there
Tracy.
is, then we would love to
Yeah,
see that.
and I'll
Yeah.
send him that.
We're
and-
obviously not going to resolve your disagreement here.
But I just wanted to point out one more thing. There's been 2 appellate court rulings. One in Missouri and one in California where engineer testified because in your policy, you're owed parts of like, kind, and quality. That's defined in all kinds of court rulings. But in any event, engineers testified that aftermarket parts can never be certified or uncertified. They can never be of like kind of quality because these people don't have the prints to the parts. As a matter of fact, all they are is a certification company that was created by State Farm way back when. I got all the information on that. I've got a lot of documents from the big State Farm aftermarket lawsuit, which ended up blowing out at only 40 million. But anyways, I can send you all that stuff too. You really got to understand from the beginning what this is all about. You can't just listen to today.
We are
Okay.
going to take into account any information that we receive. So if you have information to send us, please do. All right, Tom. Who else do we have in the queue?
And Jamie Fian has his hand raised.
Jamie.
Good afternoon. Hey, I
Good
wasn't,
afternoon.
I'm respecting and understanding the department's, intent to hear from consumers this afternoon, but given, some comments raised already, perhaps you might just give me a couple of minutes to sort of give a different perspective.
Since we don't have any consumers in the queue, we'll give you the floor for now.
Thanks, Mary. My name is Jamie Fian. I am Government Relations Director with Primer, Piper, Eggleston, and Kramer. Listening this afternoon on behalf of the American Property and Casualty Insurance Association. APCIA is the nation's largest U.S. Home, auto, and business insurance trade association, and collectively, their members in Vermont write approximately 65% of the Vermont auto insurance market. I think I might take just a different tack with my couple of minutes and just sort of share what we're seeing, at least in terms of some recent trends in the market. Much of this was shared by APCIA with a recent meeting of the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. I won't sort of respond, piece by piece to the issues that have been raised, but trust the department and its due diligence to focus on data, on facts, and to work its way through the material submitted. But in terms of those APCIA sort of trends that we're seeing and the presentation to the NAIC, I can share, or they shared, that the rating agency AM Best in March of this year, 2024, downgraded its auto insurance outlook to negative. First time, I think, in a long time, if perhaps ever. They cited as reasons or causes the worst 3-year stretch of losses in recent memory: inflation, supply chain disruption, record driving, worse driving, technology costs, and legal system abuse. Another rating agency, S&P Global, in July of this year maintained its negative outlook and cited net underwriting loss of 12.2% in 2022, a net underwriting loss of 4.9% in 2023. We're also seeing increases in the average total cost of auto repairs. Take, for example, in calendar year 2018, that average total cost of repair was just over $3,000. Compare that to calendar year 2023 at just over $4,500. And even through Q1 of 2024, we're seeing even a higher cost of total average repair. Similarly, we're seeing medical bills increase at a rate that far exceeds a CPI index for such costs, including, as an example, in December 2023, the auto medical bill was approximately 17% higher than CPI. And lastly, we're seeing price increases from January 2021 through July of 2024 in prices for automotive parts, accessories, and tires, prices for new used cars and trucks. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, driving is getting worse. Distracted driving is up. We're seeing more frequent claims and more claim severity. I recognize, not to inundate you with these numbers, and I recognize that they're national, but it's likely Vermont is experiencing similar trends. And while it's true that premiums for private passenger auto are playing catch up and have been adjusted recently, they still fall far below the rate of these other price changes. I know you've got a lot to look at among this sort of exhaustive study. One of those issues I think you mentioned earlier and has certainly been raised in the discussion is the use of aftermarket parts. APCIA strongly supports the use of aftermarket parts in the repair of automobiles for a number of reasons, including their use contributes to lower repair costs, which results in lower insurance claim costs, which helps control premiums. In addition, parts competition keeps the price of car company parts lower. Conversely, restricting or limiting the use of AMPs can increase auto premiums because of a loss of competition. Moreover, vehicle owners that may not have physical damage coverage may be forced to forego repairs because of the increase in car companies' parts prices. Interestingly, APCIA went through an exercise of looking at what it would take to rebuild entirely a 2018 Ford F-150 with car company parts as the replacement, at their replacement prices. The answer is $114,000, or 3 times the truck's original MSRP of $39,960. While this may seem outrageous, it does show how a monopoly on the use of car parts could put a severe dent in consumers' pocketbooks. As I mentioned, I know you have a lot of issues to consider. Many insurance companies have already participated in a survey that the department put out, I guess, over a year or so ago. We, again, encourage the department to look at the data that is submitted. Vermont has historically compared fairly well to other states when looking at automobile insurance premiums and automobile repair costs. No doubt competition and unimpeded market forces have contributed to that. We also urge the department to keep the interests of the consumer in mind as you consider each of these issues and the impact, of course, to the consumers, with an expectation that some issues may certainly create an impact on such consumers. I'll stop there. Again, I wasn't expecting to comment, but look forward to working with you as you move forward on behalf of APCIA and a number of other insurers and insurer entities that I also work with. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jamie. And yes, we did collect a lot of information from the insurers. But if you, APCIA, or any of the insurers have additional comments, documentation related to some of the work that APCIA has done, feel free to send that our way, and we will obviously take that into consideration, as well as everything that is sent to us by the repair shops and everybody else that we can get information from.
Great. We'll do at a start. I'll share some of this information that I was citing from the presentation to the NEIC.
That would be great. Tom, anybody else in the queue?
No other hands raised right now.
Okay. Does anybody else online like to comment? Got plenty of time, people. All right, well, if there are no further comments, then I think we will close the meeting for today. We will be doing another one. Oh,
I would just, the gentleman had made reference to the cost of cars.
Mhm.
Can't deny that. I think that's a unrealistic comparison, because the transportation costs involved obviously escalate as opposed to at the point of manufacture. But as a repair facility, and again, trying to advise our consumers on what's the best course of action for them. Manufacturers have the option of denying a warranty on a vehicle if a vehicle's repaired with parts other than the manufacturer's OEM parts. A lot of consumers are not aware of that. They're led to believe by insurance industries and others that that's an acceptable norm. And so we do encourage and refer them to their owner's manual to make sure that they're well informed about what in fact is going to occur potentially. So it's one of the things that I hope you're asking in this survey. If not, I certainly will provide our input. And as Mr. Parker can certainly attest to, that it's a real significant issue when you're not fighting, but when you're trying to provide a service, keeping in mind again, the best interest of the consumer, the retention of the value of their vehicle. Once that vehicle is, when you're spending $65,000 for the average car, a luxury vehicle, and it shows an accident on its record, its value is immediately diminished. And add to that aftermarket parts, then it's even further because the consumer now has the ability to get that information and ask about the repair. And the shrewd consumer, in fact, knows how to do that. And so again, it comes back to the level of playing field to make sure that the consumer, when buying a policy, is given multiple options. That's what I hope the insurance industry does. Simply provide several different options for them to provide different coverages and different levels and charge accordingly. That way, it resolves the issue for everybody. And the consumer gets what they have an expectation of, allows the repair facility to correctly identify what they're entitled to receive, and it would just make things a lot easier.
so I would appreciate, even if the survey doesn't address it, and anybody on the phone who's listening, if there are either at the time of sale or at the time of claim, because that's part of this study, right? Things that you feel consumers could be educated on that would help them make more intelligent decisions. We're talking about disclosures to consumers, right? Because we as a department have to balance the needs of consumers, protection of consumers, the health of the insurance marketplace, right? Because if there is no, if we price the premiums out, people won't buy the insurance, and then we have a whole different issue, right? So if there are things that you think could be done to help educate the public so that they can make informed decisions and make choices about what they want to pay for and what they don't want to pay for, we would love that input.
So the biggest thing is lease vehicles. In most lease agreements, which is a contract, it says you must use brand new OE parts. You can't use aftermarket. The insurance industry knows that when they insure that leased car, that it's a leased car, and they should know that they can't use aftermarket parts. So the insurance company should, at the time of the sale of the policy, say, and oh, by the way, once your car is 1 year old, we're going to place aftermarket parts on your car, which means you're going to breach your contract. And I know of people that have been charged back by the OEs when they turn their lease in, because a leased vehicle cannot be put into a, what's the word, the premium vehicles, that when they sell them, the ones that they guarantee the thing, they cannot be sold for that with aftermarket parts. We've been through this with a lot of the dealers that get cars in with aftermarket parts, and they've paid us to put OE parts on so they can sell it as a certified car.
Sure.
So the insurance companies know
That's a leased vehicle and they should be told up front, full disclosure. We're gonna put these aftermarket parts on your car. Or they should not put the aftermarket parts on the car. We've had people file complaints. I got into a big row over this. We had an insurance company write $690 for the customer to pay the difference, even after we did the promo price. For the customer to pay the difference, she was gonna have to pay $619 to get rid of the 19 aftermarket parts they wrote on her Honda. Fortunately, the lady that hit her, she was going through her own company. The lady that hit her had a good insurance company. She was telling her insurance company about it. We'll send her a check. They sent a check to her for $619 so she could get all Honda parts.
So
But
things like that will be very helpful
there's-
as you
there's-
fill out the survey. If you think of anything else, or if you just want to
Well-
email us, we would love it.
When I get asked questions, I think of more.
I know you do. I know you do, Mike. We will take anything you have and take it into consideration.
Right.
I can't guarantee that we're going to agree with you on everything, but we will take it into consideration.
Contact.
Yeah, I know you contact Carla and we will take into
Carla,
consideration,
Carla,
Carla,
sorry.
yeah. But we will take into consideration everything that we hear from all of the other stakeholders in this conversation, because there's a balancing act that the department has to do here, obviously.
There's another hand.
Another hand up?
Teresa has their hand raised.
Hi, I am actually a journalist with Repair Driven News. We cover the collision industry at the national level. I am in Las Vegas. My daughter, though, happens to live in Vermont with her Coast Guard fiance. So I'm interested in hearing what you guys are saying. My question is, I first was notified about this meeting on Friday, and I couldn't find this notice anywhere. I couldn't find it promoted on your Facebook. I didn't see a press release that went out. It looked like it was the only thing I could find about this online was through something that was filled out in a local newspaper. And that probably has to do with, you guys legally probably have to promote this in your local newspaper, because I was a newspaper journalist for a very long time. But I noticed that I'm used to attending meetings like this all over the nation, and there's usually a lot more people. I'm wondering how you guys promoted this event. Was there any way that you guys went directly to try to find consumers so they knew this meeting was happening?
So we did do newspapers. We did some social media. We want to make sure that consumers are aware that there is another meeting. So we will be doing more, a much broader sweep for the next meeting. It's why we decided to have another one, to make
Okay.
sure that the message is getting out.
Okay.
And we actually,
makes
did we
sense.
send it to the town clerk's offices? Yes, we actually sent it to the town clerk's offices and the Front Porch Forum as well, which is a local, which is a consumer sort of viewing spot that we are aware of. So yes, we will be doing additional publication with respect to the next meeting to ensure that everybody is
Okay.
aware.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Timing.
I kind of like this to have more time to talk.
That always worries me, Mike.
We only have 6 minutes left, Mike.
Hey, Repair Driven News had this on Monday mornings. It's a Repair Driven News is a email newsletter, and it comes out 5 days a week. And it was actually, this was on Monday's email, but I found out about it from Aaron Schellenberg, who kind of like, they control Repair Driven News. He emailed me
Yeah.
Friday and asked me if I heard about it.
And I will say, we would not have tried to publish this on a repairer-driven news type,
Right, no.
because this was
that's-
this designed for a meeting for consumers.
Month.
Yeah, then this was
I'll
designed,
be honest, most body shops in Vermont probably don't even get it. You get Repair Driven News? Right there, yes, he does.
yeah, so remember that we were looking
Yeah.
for consumers.
Right.
And so we're trying to go to
Right now, I'm a
consumer-friendly
consumer.
spots. You're a
And
consumer.
I just want to add,
Insurance.
I completely understand you wouldn't advertise with us. I've covered journalism at the local level all across the nation, and I've been covering this, watching it all across the nation for a while, and I'm just used to seeing a little bit more information out there. Usually, local newspapers would cover something like this, notified through a press release, something like that, and I just didn't see that seem to happen. It seemed to happen in a way of just kind of putting a note, like, yeah, you usually have to put things up at the clerk's office, but if you really want a consumer involvement, I typically see more effort, I would say. So I had a question about that.
Yeah, no, we're planning to do some more for the next round and realize that this is not a formal hearing. This is a consumer forum.
Yeah.
So it's not subject to the same sort of formal process that we would do if it was actually a hearing. So we're trying to get the word out, and we will do some more work on that for the next round.
And can I just add, we have a consumer services section that we hear from consumers all the time. So we do have a lot of consumer information on the topic. But we wanted to but usually those are from people that have had a bad experience.
Yes.
So we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to speak. So.
We do hear from everybody who's had a bad experience.
Is that old, new or? Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Looks like Terry has his hand raised again.
Yes, in closing from a CAPA perspective, I would fact check the fact that any aftermarket part voids an OEM warranty. There's a law called Magnuson-Moss, and I would fact check that statement made by the gentleman, number one. Number two, and I'm not here to debate with you. So unless it's changed in the last 30 minutes, it's which is unbeknown to me, but the Magnuson-Moss Act does apply there. Secondly, Intertech has a licensing agreement with the Certified Auto Parts Association. Their lab is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They employ 8 or more technicians, depending on the day, doing vehicle test fits for the parts, certifying the parts to the standards set forth by CAPA. And any and all of you are welcome. We're very transparent to show you our facility and to show the work that's done. Our goal is, again, to set the standard that certifies that the part is equivalent to the OEM service part. And many of you may not know the difference between an OEM service part and an OEM production part, but it can come from 2 different places. Thank you very much, committee, for listening to me.
Thank you.
Is correct. The Magnuson-Moss Act does not allow an OE to void the warranty if somebody puts on aftermarket parts. However, if you put an aftermarket radiator on and the engine blew, you're going to have a tough battle with the OE because they're going to be saying that aftermarket radiator is what caused the engine to blow. We've actually put aftermarket radiators on back in the day that the check engine light will come on because there's not a baffle in it to create the pressure. So that according to the dealer, that's why. So we had to swap it out, put an OE part in. So the Magnuson-Moss Act will protect you if you have aftermarket parts, unless they can figure out a way that caused that, which at that point I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, but it doesn't void the warranty. It doesn't void the warranty.
It does not void the warranty, correct.
Thank you. We'll agree on that. Thank you.
But again, if there's a radiator and the engine blew, they might be able to point that direction. That's where it gets sticky.
Okay. Anything else? We thank everybody for their comments. And if you would like to submit written comments, please feel free. We welcome them. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll send you an
So
email,
I
Mike.
put these things right here for you guys to pick up.
Thanks, Mike.
First 2 pages are what I'm now giving my consumers so they understand what a policy means. So that this is an article that's written by a guy from the glass company. I added to it and adjusted things towards the collision industry. But my lawyer, when I showed him this, he said, this is the most simplistic definition or explanation of the payment of loss options he's ever seen. So he really loved it. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.